NBA playoffs this year have been really interesting. Yes, there have been many injuries, but they've been very entertaining. This has been the best playoffs in recent history that I can remember, and today I want to talk about what a ring would mean to the two Western Conference Finals teams remaining.
They be like, what? Can you teach me how to dirty? You know why? Cause all the bitches love it. All I need is a beat that's super bumpin'. And for you to back it up and dump it.
Leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I make regular NBA content and I have a really interesting idea coming up after the finals, and if these are something which interests you, do subscribe to the channel. So the final four teams have all had weird journey to the conference finals. The Clippers have gone through two series where they've been down 0-2. The Suns have beat the best favorite Lakers with a lot of injuries in the series. The Bucks beat title favorite Nets with a bunch of injuries in that series too. And the Hawks have been the best underdog story this year of the season, beating both the Knicks and the Sixers to reach the conference finals. None of these teams have won a final since the NBA-ABA merger and haven't won a ring since like 50 years. Let's start off with what a ring will mean to the Western Conference teams, the Clippers. The Clippers have had an exceptional playoff run this year. After an absolutely embarrassing, disappointing and heartless 3-1 lead blow to the Nuggets last year, the Clippers came into their season with their heads down. They were under the radar all regular season. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard both had underrated regular seasons, and they came into the playoffs after pulling a slight mini tank which was very controversial. They went down 2-0, the Kawhi jersey swaps, the pandemic P tweets all went viral around social media, and rightfully so. But after an exceptional run, they came back in the series and won it in a game 7 after being down in that game too, and they showed something new in their game: heart. After the impressive comeback, they went to the Jazz series on a high note, but guess what? They went down 0-2 again. And to make matters worse, Kawhi went down with an injury in game 4. The Clippers needed to pull off something special without their best player, and they did. Led by Paul George's exceptional performance and with the greatest guard in NBA history, Reggie Jackson, by his side, they won 2 straight games, and with a 40-point masterclass in Game 7 for Terrence Mann, they sealed the series. And they actually proved that they learned something from their failure last year and came back playing with heart and energy in every single game without their best player to win 2 straight games. They made their first conference finals in franchise history, and according to me, a championship will have the most impact on the Clippers. The so-called cursed team in the NBA will be eradicated. They're one of the only teams who have had to play completely healthy oppositions in the playoffs so far while suffering injuries themselves. The pandemic P narrative is going to be completely eradicated and should be never brought up again. He's been one of the best players this entire playoffs, leading the playoffs in minutes too. He's playing point guard for this team because Reggie Jackson or Patrick Beverley sure as hell ain't playing point guard. Sure, he's been having more turnovers, and sure, he's been missing free throws in the clutch, but have you noticed? Every time he's been having a down game, he comes back much stronger. This is something we're not used to seeing from Paul George, and it's very impressive. No one should tolerate the pandemic P slander anymore, and if Paul George wins a ring this year, he deserves real respect. Even his supporting cast and their coach, Reggie Jackson, was a player who was bought out, and he's a top 10 player left in the playoffs right now. He's been playing at an all-star level this playoffs, and with the ego issues he's had in the past with teammates such as Russell Westbrook and playing for a terrible team such as the Detroit Pistons, this completely outweighs it. Even their coach, Ty Lue, a coach whose brilliance has been completely overshadowed by LeBron's brilliant performance in Cleveland, getting a lot more respect and should get a lot more respect if the Clippers win this year. And assuming the Clippers win it, this would mean they've come back from 3-1 in this conference finals, and that's another large thing in each of these players' portfolios. I don't know what to talk about Kawhi as his injury schedule is very uncertain, so I don't really want to touch upon that. Moving on to the next team in the Western Conference, the Phoenix Suns. The Suns have had an inspirational story this playoffs, which I've actually made a video about. This ring would mean so much to this organization. The Suns have been one of the worst franchises of this decade, and there was a rumor that they were going to be a team which clubbed both them and the Kings, and that shows how down bad they were at one point. But now with the addition of Chris Paul, they're title contenders. Devin Booker, a player who has been doubted his entire life and his entire career and has been called empty stats all his career, is finally getting the recognition he deserves. I see the Kobe Bryant in his game and his mentality, and I see the Kobe 2.0 comparisons, and I actually like it. But when he wins the ring, I think it's time we start referring to him as the first Devin Booker. Another player who's been doubted his entire career until now is DeAndre Ayton. I still believe Luka should have been picked over him and picked first overall in this draft. He's arguably been the best center this playoffs, followed by maybe Jokic, and has put his name into the top 5 centers in the league well and truly. His versatility both on offense and defense and his effortless fit next to Chris Paul, and him being a third-year player and being a franchise center for a championship team, that's one hell of a title to have next to your name. And even their leader in this playoffs, Chris Paul, was called Choke Paul for a lot of his playoff career, and that should speak for how much this ring will mean to him. He has never made the finals and will probably go down as the best player to never win a ring if he doesn't win one. If he does win one this year, he'll be easily a top 20-25 player all time and will go down as one of the greatest point guards to ever do it. His impact and his leadership off the court and on the court can all be referred to this one title, and the Chris Paul effect can be justified to the future generations. Even players such as Cam Payne, who've been big parts to this team's success, will all get the respect and recognition for the journey they've had to bring into this team and make this team a title contender. Monty Williams will go down in the history books for his exceptional job this season, and though they faced 3 teams missing their best or second best player, they beat them. It wasn't like the opponent team beat themselves. Arguably their best player, Chris Paul, wasn't in the series against the Lakers, and they should be giving the Suns more credit. Even against the Nuggets, they would have won either way in my opinion after a massive defensive jump Ayton took in that series. The Clippers would have won the series with Kawhi in my opinion, but the Suns, give them the credit, man. I'll be making a video about the Western Conference teams probably tomorrow, and that's all I have for you today. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new.